Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome. So glad that you are here. This is such a great subject that we're going to talk about this evening, or what time is it where you're at anyway? Type in the time where you're at. I know we get people from all over the place logging in. Do me a favor, those that are on, turn on your camera as long as you're not naked or in an inappropriate area. Please turn it on. Brent, what's happening? Corey, Peter, what's going on? Matt, nice to see you. And Nathaniel and everyone else. 6, 7. Oh, perfect. It's a perfect time so far for all of you. Tonight is about critical thinking. It's going to be in a very short amount of time that you're probably going to want every human you know to be on this training. And you're probably going to be a little upset that people wouldn't dedicate their time to the next 90 minutes of this training, because every difficulty that you're pretty much having in life is based on not having a good critical thinking process. Okay. Now I'm going to talk with you, not at you. So I want to make sure we all can communicate in the chat bar. So if you give me a big old boom in the chat bar, that'd be awesome. So I know you know how to use it. There we go. Now, with critical thinking, right? And before we dig into it, I just want you to think of every single thing you want in life that you don't have, okay? Everything you want in life that you don't have. And if you want to type it in the chat bar, there's no judgments here. If you want to have 10 million in your bank account, 20 million, you want your company to be doing 40 million, you don't like your job, you're not in a great relationship, you're struggling to communicate with other people. Everything lies on the other side of critical thinking. Now, I know why we don't have 5 million people on this, because it's easier not to think and to settle. If you think that's true, can you type in true? It's easier to not critical think and just settle, because write this down on your paper, everybody. Success is normally lonely until you hang around other successful people. Okay. Success is normally lonely until you hang around other successful people. And then you're never lonely again, because you're around people that are wishing for you to grow and expand. You're looking for that. Okay. Let's dig right into the information right here. Now, if you're pretty new to my world, like you have not been through one of my trainings before, or one of our master class or webinars or something, can you just type in new in the chat bar? And if you've been a friend for a long time, because you've been around, just type in been around. Okay. If you've been in my world for a while, and if you've been in my world for a while, maybe tell, hey, welcome all you new people. Susie, what's happening? Rick, Casey, love having you. If you've been around for a while, can you tell everybody what to expect a little bit, but don't scare them off, okay? This is about the lost art of critical thinking, and it's about eliminating stress, solve problems, and be able to see new opportunities, okay? Now, we do have a workbook if you want it. You got a couple ways to get the workbook. One, my team's going to dump the link for you, Brian, in the chat bar. There's also a QR code right here. So if you want to hold your, I won't be weird that you're like taking pictures of me. You could do that to get the workbook. Or you know what? You could just write some notes on paper, and that's perfectly fine too. Okay, that's perfectly fine. And when you do go in, since we do have the workbook inside the free Facebook section there, okay, you definitely want to make sure you go in that group anyway, because I got a whole bunch of cool free trainings for you guys that can change the way you think about things. So here's an important thing. This training is going to, it's really a life training to help you enhance your life and get results in all areas of life. It's not a business training, but we know that critical thinking applies in every single area of your existence. One of my greatest awakenings that I had was to have a bigger business or anything, you have to have a bigger life, right? You need to have a bigger life. And at any time I say something that resonates with you, gets you to think a little different, maybe impacts you, or maybe shakes you up a little bit, I just want you to give me a big old boom in the chat bar, okay? So many people try to just focus here instead of here. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to critical thinking, how that's some of the secret sauce, okay? Now, two simple disclaimers. One, if I talk about any strategy or anything, you definitely should seek, I am not your financial advisor. I'm not a medical doctor. I am not somebody that's here to give you professional advice. Okay, so that's all up here. Okay, and on the bottom here, I'm also going to provide you insight, and I'm not going to be responsible for your massive success that's going to start happening once you start critical thinking at a new level. Okay, now life, I don't know about you, it can get a little confusing and definitely frustrating sometimes. And I'll show how when you throw some more things into that, Rick, like this shit can get difficult sometimes. And if you're new in my world, sometimes I curse a little bit. If that bothers you, you have like one or two choices. One, you could, well, there's probably three. One, you could change the words. Two, you could just bounce down. Number three, just pray for me tonight. I am so good with myself. But I do it to make a point in certain areas. Now, if you can relate to any of these things, just type in relate in the chat bar, like family stress, anybody? Or confusing situations, a little bit of frustration at work, maybe not you guys, maybe just me. Or what about this one? Questions about the future. Pandemic did that for a lot of people, like, oh man, like what's going to happen? Or economic uncertainties. Okay, if you're a business owner, type in business owner. If you're a career person, type in career. If you do something else, like you're a mom or something, or retire, type in what you do. Here's one thing we know for sure. There will be economic uncertainties. Is that true? Can you type in true? Do you think that's true? Rick, Susie, you did? Yeah. Okay, we know that. So we might as well be able to critically think through it. We know that there could be wars. Wars are happening now. We know that there's negative news. We know that there's social media conflict. That's just an ongoing thing. There could be health struggles. Type in health struggles if any of you have dealt with this in the last couple of years. Any of you had health struggles? And there could be wealth struggles. Now, I understand what all of these things can look like when you don't know how to critically think. I do, because this is me here, and I started an electrical contracting company back in 1994. I'm probably 17 here, maybe I'm in my early 20s here, and I probably should remember the year there, because that's my beautiful wife who's on here tonight. We've been together since we're 15 years old, so that's a long time together. We both understand critical thinking through situations. I also know that when you don't know how to strategically and tactically think, you can struggle. Does that sound true? Type in true if you think that's true. Like, you struggle when you don't know how to think through things. I also know what I did differently. I started to really, really think and learn a lot, and question things and write things, decades. I also have trained any martial artist here. Put in martial arts in the chat bar. If not, if you watch Cobra Kai, maybe that counts. Or, oh, Peter, cool, martial artist. I do know what it's like to stay focused. Now that I've been doing martial arts since I'm 15, so it's well over 3 decades. I know what it's like, and this is my son here in the ninjutsu outfit. And one of the things I did was I focused on my mind, my body, and focused on discipline, focused on endurance. And that helped me. Plus, I made sure that I was around really badass, cool people, even when I thought I couldn't get around them, Rick. Like, that's Jay Abraham there, one of the highest paid consultants on earth. If anybody knows who Jay Abraham is, can you type in Jay? He's my one-on-one coach for 3.5 years. I spent a lot of time. I've been on stage with him. This is Brian Kurtz. I don't know if you know Brian, super smart marketer. And that's a little bit about what I started to do different. And this is how some of that stuff will pay off, and it will pay off for you too. This is my my beautiful, I didn't want to write on her face there. I'll just draw a nice smile face and arrow to my beautiful wife there. Here's my son. This is inside. We have the dojo at the house. My son's 22 now. He'll be 23. He was born like 4.5 weeks early on my birthday. So May 29th, both of us have a birthday coming up. I'll be level 52 and whatever at the end of May. What level will you be? I would never say age anyway. I that always bothers me. People like, oh, I'm 52, like you're dying and digging a hole. I'm like, 52's coming. I am faster, more powerful, quicker, smarter than I've ever been. All right, we got level 61, 40. And you know what? You can lie in there. None of us know. So like, but there's no judgments here. And this is my my daughter, Caitlin. She's 20. That's a recent picture. We just got, anybody got tattoos? Type in tattoo in the chat bar if you got tattoos. We just got daddy-daughter tattoos. So that was a really fun experience. We did that in San Diego. So here's what I'm going to tell you. When you learn critical thinking, oh, we got a lot of tattoo people. All right, I don't feel weird no more now. Those of you that don't have tattoos, like you still can get some. All right, your mom will get over it. I promise you. When you critical think, you then can make bigger, better, quicker decisions. And I'm not sharing this to brag, but like some of you are new. So why the hell would you even listen to me? Like why listen to this tattoo guy? Well, maybe one of the reasons is because I grew a $32 million company. I took it from under $1 million to $32 million in less than 10 years, 165 trucks, 200 employees, and then I sold it in 2017 and I walked away. Now, do you guys write critical? If you think when you have 200 employees that work for you, you have to be pretty damn critical. And there is a lot of stuff to think about, let alone 165 trucks moving around New Jersey. Anybody from New Jersey? Type in New Jersey if you know this company. And when you sell a company, you got to, it's a lot of critical thinking. I also built a company called CEO Warrior. If you know CEO Warrior, type in CEO in the chat bar. It's the highest level training and implementation organization in the world for teaching the service industry, plumbers, HVAC, electricians, pest control people, how to grow their company. I did do a huge acquisition with that in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. I'm still one of the largest shareholders, and I'm also on a board level role there. And then that brought me, and all of this should be a transition that you're seeing, not for me, for you. The transition here is critical think, grew, transition. Critical think, grow, transition. I said this the other day in a group, and I think they're still trying to figure out what I said. And I said, if you're still doing, and some of this might ruffle your feathers. So if some of you are new and you don't like it, like just flip me the middle finger emoji or something, and then you could just kick off if you want. Hopefully I won't do that to you. But if you're still doing what you're doing and for decades and you haven't changed it, you're probably not ascending. You're probably not growing. And I know that can be tough, but this is what you see happens with critical ascension. Okay, Maria, critical ascension. And now we built this company while you're here, which is called Food Dog Group, which is we're on target to impact 1 million people or more in a decade or less in 100 countries or more. And that's really cool because we are making huge impact already. Now, today, if you're like, Mike, what do you do today? I'm an investor today. That's what I do. I invest, and you are too. Your first critical thinking is to come through an investor. And I don't care what you do, you're an investor. If you invest in a relationship of any kind, type in investor in the chat bar. If you invest in your health, your body, your career, your children, you're an investor. Type in investor. So I'm an investor here with you two today. And yes, we are looking for companies to partner with. So if you know anybody that has a cool company that wants a cool partner that wants to scale fast and exit in 3 to 5 years, feel free to hit us up. Love to have conversations with people. Now, some of you might be like, what the hell is this food dog thing? Like, you're like, what is that? Now, these are food dogs here. Did you ever see these before? Type in food dog in the chat bar if you've ever seen these. Now, they're very mystical, they're very powerful, and they're very balanced. There's two of them. There's a male and female. And we have that image for a reason, because one, their critical thinking is a balancing game, right? It's a balance of which way does this go with my decision. You're more powerful than you think. And if you think you have another level of power in your life, can you type in power there? Can you type in power in the chat bar? And if you are starting to figure out that you're a mystical human, right? Like there's a new level of capacity. If I scroll back a minute to here, I'm going to share things with you that maybe I wasn't planning on sharing, but it came up for me. When you build things like this, okay, when you build huge empires, you have to realize that you don't have to. I did. You could consider it that you're a very mystical human that could build really, really big things, that you're more powerful. And if you look at it, that there's another level, you'll go there. And then there's this sense of balance that you want to maintain balance. We'll talk more about balance. Now, for some of you, I know people have timelines. I'm just sharing this now early, and I'm not here to sell you anything. Please, if anything, look at this as maybe an opportunity of a lifetime. I do have a training coming up in June. It's called Mind Power, Unlimited Potential. If any of you are interested in that, you could QR code or there's a link there. I will tell you, this is a very exclusive training. It's not one of our normal trainings where anybody could pretty much sign up, you pay and you come to it. This is a very intense training that I'm going to teach exactly what it takes to shift the mind to create levels of business and career and relationships on a level you can't even imagine. That's why it's got to be very exclusive. If you're interested, cool, hit me up. If not, keep writing notes about what we're going through tonight. Now, and if you do think that the mind creates your greatest reality, can you type in reality in the chat bar? If you think your mind creates your greatest reality, yeah. So if we shift your whole reality program, we shift everything that happens. And I've been doing that for over 3 decades now. That's not a new thing for me to be doing that with people. There's 8 strategies for critical thinking, right? And what are some of these things? Like, I mean, does anybody have a friend right now having a relationship problem? Raise your hand. Anybody? Just me? Like, everybody knows someone that's having a relationship problem. And if it's you, don't say it if your partner's on here. That may not work out well, right? Or you're kind of wondering, like, do I have enough money for bills, right? Or there's that guy cut me off, or fighting with spouse, or the engine light is on. I mean, man, I didn't have the fighting with the spouse, but some of these other things I just had, right? Or the neighbor's loud at a party, or you need to clean the garage. I mean, there's so many processes to think about through things. And the first way to do it is strategy number 1. And this is where you want to start writing down strategy. So strategy number 1 is we got to have this brain dump. Sometimes I wish I could just open up my brain like this, like, and let it just fall out and release some of the pressure. What about you? Type in pressure if just sometimes you just want to release it without blowing up, right? Because some people, pressure is like, I used to say a heavy bag is like your best friend because you could release pressure without causing damage, right? It's like if any of you are in the trades or anything, there's things called a capacitor. It like stores the charge, right? And the first challenge that keeps us from critical thinking is muddled thoughts. Now, my wife calls it like the monkey mind. Any of you have a monkey mind? Oh, she already wrote it there. Monkey mind. Type in monkey mind if any of you have a monkey mind. Like, it just a million miles an hour all over, right? And Susie, yeah. When we have many thoughts and feelings happening at once, Susie, tell me this. Maria, can it get confusing? The thoughts overlap. It's hard to think about each one individually. But the first step is we have to brain dump this down, right? What is on your mind? Now, some of you sabotaged yourself. You're like, Mike, I would be here for a year writing it down. Okay, well, would you rather suffer for a decade or would you spend a year dumping it down? We have to get it out. The question is, Maria, why do people fear taking things out of their mind and writing it down? Take a guess in the chat bar. Hey, Dwayne, how you doing, brother? Why do you think people fear it becomes reality, brings it to reality? They have to face it. Yeah. Right. Because what happens is when you take it out of the brain, all the mechanisms inside your mind start to say, well, wait a second. Can you do it? You question yourself. Then there's this sense of fear, like bills to pay. And a lot of these things, just so you know, if we look at a couple here, right? Like fight with spouse, kid having trouble at school. Okay. There's a couple things that happen with just these top three, everybody. And tell me if you could relate to this. One, some of those items can carry guilt. Is that true? Could you have guilt? I spent too much and now I can't pay my bills. Could it carry shame? Yeah, shame. Kids having trouble at school. Could that carry trauma from you? Now, you don't have to say it, but if you want to, I feel like we're all connected. Have any of you had trauma from school? You were bullied, you were picked on, you felt incompetent because the teacher pointed you out, go up there, stand up there, right? And it could be simple things like the neighbor's loud party, right? Or pick up milk on the way home, or friends having relationship trouble. And how many of you, let's be transparent, Brian, like how many of you are really good at helping other people, but you struggle at helping yourself? Come on, let's be real. Okay, we got some hands raised in there. Yeah, because we like helping other people because there's no real consequence to that. We struggle to help ourselves because, well, what if I get it wrong, right? And we have all these things like saving retirement, right? Or will there be a recession? And based on the charge, the amount of energy that was into this situation is the amount of avoidance we will have. So Taylor, I hope I'm saying that right, Taylor. If you have an energy charge on it, lots of trauma, guilt, and shame, if you notice what happens on the other side of that is avoidance. If you think that's correct, type in correct in the chat bar, right? Because you avoid those things. You're like, but they normally don't go away. Daniel, they expand. They expand, right? And when they expand, they start to feel a little bit overwhelming. So first off, and I know you don't have the time because to do it right now, but you should be able to do it tonight or tomorrow. How many of you will take on the challenge of strategy 1 and you're going to start brain dumping? Just type in brain dump in the chat bar. While you're writing that, I want to tell you something that I learned. How many of you would love to sleep just a little bit better? Just a little bit. Type in sleep better in the chat bar if you'd like to just sleep a little bit better. So me too, right? Me too. There was a time I just wanted to sleep better. And I don't remember which mentor it is, so I can't give him credit because in the last 15 years, maybe like some of you, and I'm not saying it to brag, it's just I couldn't find a couple mentors, so I hired a lot, like over $2.7 million worth of education in the last 15 plus years, right? And he said to me, if you want to sleep better, there's 2 things you got to do. 2 things. Tell me if you want the 2 things, Rick. Type in, let me have it. It's going to sound simple. Most of you will not do it. I'm just telling you right now. It's going to sound simple. Most of you won't do it. Number 1 thing he says, you got to brain dump before you go to bed. Because if you don't empty everything out of your mind is going to try to process and categorize it. And your brain doesn't want you to forget things. Number 2, build your plan for the next day before you go to bed, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's a sticky note and you go, wake up, brush teeth, go to work, get milk. It doesn't matter. If you do those two things, I promise you, you will sleep better. You'll be sending me a private message tomorrow morning going, holy crap, I did. Because if you don't, your brain's trying to hold on to it. It's trying to regulate things. How many of you, okay, this is going to be a good point. You set your alarm clock and you said, I must be up by 6:30. And you knew that you can't be late. You have to be up by 6:30. How many of you have woke up at 6:29 before the alarm clock? Say me in the chat bar. Now, do you think that, Susie, that's just like what? The universe was like, wake up. Your brain set a process that started counting down and going, he must or she must get up. And it just works all night long, trying to remember it. It's the same thing when you have a lot of thoughts in your mind. Now, let's go for number 2. Are you getting value so far? Type in value in the chat bar. Number 2 is we have to get clarity on these issues. And you have to ask this: what areas are impacted in my life? What areas? What areas are not impacted? And any additional issues that start to come to mind. Now, remember, we brain dump. Now we come over here and we go, well, let's get clear on it. Where do these things fall? So if you look at this, like savings and retirement, taxes due, right? That falls under the wealth and finance. Or we look at like, will there be a recession? So like, this is where that stuff is sitting. Or maybe fight with spouse, and that's over in partner in love. So we brain dump, but then we come here and go, wait a minute, let's get clarity. Where is it affecting areas here? I want you to write something down real quick. I've been saying it a lot lately because I'm such a believer in it. First off, if any of you have ever heard this 10X theory, can you type in 10X in the chat bar? You hear it, 10X, 10X, 10X. I'm going to 10X my business. I'm 10X my life. Here's what nobody is talking about today. The only way to 10X anything is you have to 20X yourself. And the only way you could 20X yourself is brain dumping, categorizing, and getting clarity on the issues. Type in 20X in the chat bar. Because when you 20X yourself, see, learning how to critical think is 20X in yourself so you could 10X your business. I didn't know, Maria, I didn't know this was happening when I was building big companies. I didn't realize that till later. And it was really the last year that I sat back and I started to really start to study things. Now, first off, I've created, I think in the last 15 months, 20 decamillionaires. A decamillionaire means I got $10 million popped in their bank because they sold their company. I think it's be over 20 in the next couple months. Now, when I look at that, I say to myself, what was the deal? How did they do that? Well, I helped them 20X themselves so they could 10X the result. If this makes sense, can you put make sense in the chat bar? And you guys are doing amazing. Now, once we have these things here, we brain dumped, we know the area. Now I got to start to sort the issues by urgency, control, and impact. Now, let me say it again. I hope, and I don't even like using the word hope, but I have to hope because it applies to you, that you will take this process and do the stuff. Because if you don't do it, the only thing you'll have on the other side is a complaint because you don't have a process, okay? Write this down, everybody. Problems are from lack of processes. You have a problem because you don't have a life process, right? Now, if we start to categorize this, let's look at it. We have first, what's on your mind? Pretty simple. Next thing, how urgent is it? Right? Like, is it a now thing? Is it a later thing? How much control do you have over the outcome? Like, can you control it or it has something to do with someone else? And what is the impact on your life from the result? Because how many of you found yourself in life working on the right things at the totally wrong time, right? Like you're worried about the swimming pool, but you're getting ready to get divorced in your relationship. Like, yeah, maybe the pool is the right thing, but like it's at the wrong time. Type in wrong time if you've done this before. Like you're focusing on something and you look and go, wait a minute here. Maybe I should be focusing on not getting divorced, right? So if we look at like bills to pay, right? Bills to pay. This is a now thing. It's a high priority, right? Now, what impact will it make on your life? Well, maybe it's a low impact because why? Because I got to pay them and it really doesn't enhance my life. But hang on. If we look at fight with spouse, right? Well, how urgent? Well, I bet that's like a now thing. And the priority, it's got to be a high thing, right? And the impact, well, if you fix it, improve it, the impact, huge, right? It's a number 3. You see over here? It's huge. So you have to sort these things out, and then we have to tackle them. Write this down, everybody. The brain is a system. Critical thinking is a system that functions based on how we program our brain. You think your brain's in control of you. You're in control of it when you have a process. Now, I get it. Some of you have to break through the existing process. Like people tell you, hey, just wing it. Wing it's a good way to get killed, right? Wing it's a good way to go broke. Like you probably don't want to wing it. I always like this, so I'll say it right now because it always applies as far as I'm concerned. Like everything's by design or by default. Write those two things down. It's by design or by default. By default means I don't have a critical thinking process, so shit just happens. And I'm like, whatever. By design means, wait a minute, get everything out of my mind, see what areas it's affecting, categorize, sort these things out, and rate and rank them. Tell me at this point so far, before we keep going, because we got a lot more to do, what's making most sense to you right now that you know you can either do better or you just got to do it? And be transparent because there's no judgments here, everybody. Type in the chat bar. Have to take action. Okay. Yeah. Begin to design. Very good, Brian. Plan your days, create processes, 20x myself. Very nice. Establish process for my problems. Okay. You guys are doing amazing. I can control and train my brain, not the other way. Yes, you can. All right, let's go for number 4 here. All right, so now we got to give you a little bit of a grid here. Okay, let's give you a grid to think through this. So first we have control. There's things in life that you have high control over and things that you have low control. And then there's urgency, right? There's things that can be done later, and then there's things that have to be done right now. Okay. Tell me, how many things do you have waiting in your Amazon shopping cart right now? Come on, be transparent with me. Like, how many things are in your Amazon? None? Great job, Susie. Taylor's like 5. We got a bunch of zeros. You none. Your wife 3. His wife 300. Oh, that's so good. Okay. If you have a lot in your Amazon cart, that's probably a good, like, there's a critical process, a critical thinking process here, right? But let's look at some of these. If we have low control over it and it can wait till later, right? Like the recession, will there be a recession? Well, you have low control over that. Got to wait for later, right? Like you're not going to control it. Doesn't mean not be prepared. It's just like, okay, what's happening in the world, right? You have low control. It's like later, okay, something's going to happen in the world. We don't know until it happens. A neighbor's loud party. Well, maybe in some part of the world, you have a shotgun. Maybe, does anybody own a shotgun? Type in shotgun. Like, then maybe you got control if you got a shotgun. If you don't have a shotgun, then maybe you have low control and no big deal. Wait till later, right? Like the party's going to end. Now, what if you have low control, but it's a now thing, right? I have low control, but my friend has trouble in his relationship. Like, not in Australia. Yeah, you guys, you don't have anything. It's like New Jersey. We could own it, but you can't ever use it for anything, right? Can't even use a butter knife. But your friend's in trouble. You got low control over your friend's in trouble, right? But it's a now thing because your friend needs help right now. But what could we have high control on, but maybe we just don't, it's a later thing. Like we could focus on it later, like saving for retirement. Focus on it for later. Doesn't have to be right now, like right now while we're on with this. Or you need to clean the garage. Now, maybe your relationship says that's a now thing. But realistically, that could wait. Or pick up milk on the way home. Like, okay, you have high control over that. It could be done later. But what about high control and now? Right? Like fight with spouse. Like you have control over this. You could help. You could help influence it. You could impact it. And it should happen now. Right? Because it doesn't go away. Or taxes do, right? You have high control. You can go pay the taxes. It should happen now. Don't delay it, right? Kids in trouble at school. You have a high control. Like you could go do that. And then you have bills to pay. Now, let's look how this starts to play out here. When you look at this and these items, they carry a sense of energy with them, okay? Energy being a charge. How do you know when there's a charge with an item? Like you just lose your mind. Like if you could type in something that gives you a charge, like the kids leave the shoes in the middle of the room or people don't clean up after themselves. Type in something in the chat bar that gives you a charge. Let's see what you guys have. Like what just twists you up energetically? Dishes in the sink. Did my wife write that one? Oh, Maddie, okay, a lot of people have that one, I guess. Technical issues. Okay. A mess. Dirty shoes at the door by the kids. Kids arguing. Okay, right? Like this gives you a charge. You just feel like you start to bubble over, right? Now, if you could think about these issues, think about it and redefine the issues to take the charge away from it. Because otherwise, like some of these, you can't do anything with it, but there's a huge charge. Here's the simplest way I found to reverse a charge. See the opportunity in it versus the punishment. A lot of people are already talking about recession, economy. Some of you probably on here, that probably is a little freaky. If it's a little freaky, type in freaky, especially if you lived through 2008, which was the closest thing to the Great Depression, right? 2008. And then they say the next one will make that one look like child's play, right? And that could be 4 to 12 months. But none of you look at it freaky? Okay. Now, if you look at it as an opportunity, how many of you think that this could be one of the greatest opportunities in history? Type in opportunity. It could be one of the greatest ones of all time. Let me teach you a little money thing. Type in money if I could teach you a little money thing. Can I teach you money? Are you guys okay with money? Okay. All right, here's some money thing. Money doesn't disappear, it just moves, everybody. It just moves. Okay, if that's a boom, type in boom in the chat bar. Like it doesn't disappear, it just relocates itself. So a recession is not a going away, it's a relocation. If I carry a charge on anything, like it makes me nuts. Like what's happening in the world? Oh my God, Ukraine and Russia, right? Oh, big charge. Can you focus on creating anything in a state of charged distraction? You can't. Now, am I telling you to ignore the world? No, I'm not. I'm telling you to look at it through the priority matrix here, to look at it, to remove the charge based on, wait a second, do I have control? Is this a focus right now? If you step back, okay, how many of you, this will be great. I didn't think I'll do this. Let me do this. This will be fun. So how many of you like just want, well, I think money's an easy one. I know some of you probably want health and other things, but let's just do this. How many of you want something to improve, like next level in your life? Your love, your relationship, I don't care what it is, no judgment. It could be anything you want. Okay, everybody, if you don't, then you might be complacent or stuck. Now, I want you to step outside of yourself, like up here, like pretend you're looking down at yourself now. And you watched everything you did today. Would you yell down and say, you focused on everything you needed? Or would you yell down and say, you were charged, you were looking at things that were not going to move you forward, you spent time on shit that wasn't going to help you? So tell me from the sky, okay, Brent, from the sky looking down at yourself, what would you yell down? You did every single move to move you forward to do that, or you were distracted, you were looking at things, you're trying to buy. I watch people spend more time, Corey, like they will spend more time trying to focus on the TV they're going to buy than creating the most desired outcome they want. They spend more time in Amazon trying to pick a blender than they do at focus moving their life to the next level. Let's go for number 6. So now we have that category up here, right? Strategy number 6 is like, wait a second. So if it's in high, I have high control over it and it's later, what might tell me what to do? Here's what you do. Plan future actions around these non-urgent issues. Deal with them in an order of impact. Okay, plan. Before I go to bed, I know I got to get milk. First off, a lot of this today is a lack of delegation and a lack of creation. Can you write those 2 words down? Delegation and creation. Let me explain it. Well, delegation is the ability to think of something or someone else that can do this for me. We're in the greatest world of all time with this DoorDash and this Ubers. And I mean, we are in the greatest time of history to get stuff done, and also the greatest time to be probably not efficient for yourself. But one, we have this delegation to resources. We also have the ability to create a new way of thinking. Okay, ready for something else to write down? I hope you got, how much notes do you have? Tell me in the chat bar, how many notes do you have? Do you have some notes? I want notes to turn into actions, because otherwise this is entertainment and this can't be entertainment. Now, in order for you to grow, to handle something else has to die, okay? In order to grow something, you must delete something. In order to have right now, ready? In order to have a breakthrough, and if you're having a few breakthroughs, can you type in boom in the chat bar? In order to have a breakthrough, you have to have a breakup. In order to have a breakthrough, you have to have a breakup with something inside your mind. So when we're here and we're planning for future actions, well, wait, how can I create a new way to get milk so I don't have to get it on the way home? Like, what if there was a system to make sure, like, when it's halfway done, like, we push a button and it gets delivered, right? Like or it's auto ship. We know that the kids drink 3 gallons of milk a week. Well, why would you go to the store and keep, like, Just have that stuff end up for you. So it's a difference between delegation and creation. Now, sometimes you're such in a state of fullness of thoughts. There's so many thoughts inside your mind. You're so full that you don't have a time because you haven't critically thought through it. And you also haven't critically categorized it. I don't care if it's a conversation with your young kids, or you're talking to a management team at what you do for a career, or you're making a decision on because you want to release weight and get healthier. When we put it into brackets, now we get the laser focus on what's most important for you. Now, let's go for number 7. This one, control and urgency, like this is what we call massive action. I guarantee every single one of you, I'll be surprised if I'm wrong, you just say you're wrong. Every single one of you need to take massive action on something. Maybe not tonight, but tomorrow. Type in massive action if you think that's true. You have been pondering, waiting, delaying because you haven't had a process to put it through. When you know, and look, fight with spouse. If you want to look, when you're fighting with your spouse or your partner, whatever it is, do you care about your business at all in that moment in time? Type in nope in the chat, right? Nope. Do you care about your health when you're fighting with your partner? Nope. Do you care about meditating when you're fighting with your partner? Nope. Which means we better solve that thing right now. We better solve that. Procrastination, Brian, is nothing more than lack of leverage. Okay? Procrastination is nothing more than lack of leverage. You should write that down. Because if you had enough leverage on your ass, you wouldn't procrastinate. You would not procrastinate. I used to always use the example. It might sound like a crazy example, but it's not real, but let me use it. Okay, humor me. If you needed, right? Okay, how many of you, if you had to, could get $1 million and give it to me in 24 hours legally? Type in 1 million in the chat bar. Let's see where we cap out on this. So it's either yes or fucking no way. Okay, so we got some 1 million. Okay, my wife. Yeah, of course. Okay, all right. What about 10 million? 10 million. 24 hours, 10 minutes. Nope. Some of you are like, F off. Okay. How many of you have children? Type in children in the chat bar. Children. Okay. If your child was holding on to a rope and that rope's on fire, and unless you take $1 million and deposit it in the top in this device, put $1 million in, the rope burns, your child dies. How many of you can get $1 million in 24 hours? Type in me. You can. You would start collecting right here. You would go door to door. You'd go on social media. So he said, I fucking try. Of course you would. You wouldn't just try, you'd get it done. You know why? Leverage. Here's my Venmo, right? Leverage. People fail because of lack of leverage. Now, maybe your kid's not going to die, but you're probably, how many of you, when you're not getting to the place you want to be, the money you want to be, the desired life you want to be, it almost feels like death sometimes. Tell me in the chat bar. Feels painful, right? You're like, I'm level 50. I thought I wouldn't be doing this no more. I thought I would be living like this. I thought I'd be eating organic food. I thought I'd be able to travel. All right, is it okay if I give something that stings a little bit? I did get a bumblebee. That's a bumblebee. That me and my daughter, she got a different one, but I got a bumblebee. Can I give you something that stings? Okay, Maria said, yeah. Okay. It's going to suck. I mean, I can only see like 5 of you. So if you flip me the finger in the screen, I may not see you. So you could just send it in the chat bar or something. It's okay. You deserve exactly where you're at. You do. Based on the thinking you have, you deserve exactly where you're at. Not after today, because your greatest success is only one critical decision away. All of you have made a big decision at one time. You decided to get married. You decided to have a kid. You decided to start your own business. If you keep making good critical decisions, then all of a sudden your kids grow up. You stay married. You stay healthy, right? How many people are trying to get healthier? And by trying to get healthier, right, they try a million different kinds of diets. Who's ever been on a diet before? Type in diet. Me too, right? There's all of them, man. You do them all. Like every type you could imagine. And in the end, it's really just a new decision about your health. Like anybody will tell you to take your health to the next level. It's most of the time changing what you're doing. It's not drinking the green drink. It's not drinking the berry juice, right? It's not starving yourself to death. It's just a different decision. Okay. How many of you talk not nice to yourself in your mind? Type not nice. Like you are really good at kicking your own ass. Like, you're a failure. You're a loser. You should have did better. Like how many mean things, right? Okay. When you're saying mean things to yourself, can you make the best decisions in the world? No. I hope you're seeing the link between critical decisions and the mind and everything that you had. From where you are to where you want to go, you have to shift new things. You do. Okay, let's go for number 8 here. So now you're at the point we have to create action items for our highest priorities. So what do? Let me break it down for you. Okay, so we're fighting with the spouse. Okay, what do I know? Okay, I know she is mad at me. We know that. What don't I know? Why is she mad at me? Is there a possibility? Let me just talk to the men right now. Men, is there a possibility that your relationship is mad at you and you're not 100% sure because we just don't catch up quick enough? Type in true if that's true. Does that happen? Or is it probably just me? Okay, it's true. Okay. Now, the next thing is who can help? Well, my spouse and I can help each other figure it out. And men, when it's on the opposite side, we're really, really good. Because most women say, let's watch all the men's response. Ready, ladies? A woman says, what's wrong with you? And men, what do we all say? Type in the chat bar. What's our number one response? There you go. Nothing. Nothing's wrong, right? We have been conditioned by father after father that if something's wrong, nothing is wrong, right? And then eventually they say, long enough, because you know that now the point is this ain't going to go away. You say, oh, this is the problem. But then there's an action, right? Go for a walk away from the kids and the problems and talk, right? Have a conversation. Have a conversation. See, if you can look at it just through this most simplistic structure, right? Most simplistic structure here. You could start to break down a plan to critical think through. Most people throw their hands in the air. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's wrong with her. I don't know what's wrong with him. He just has an attitude. I don't know. But if we could create actions, someone taught me this probably a couple decades ago. They said, the only thing I want you to focus on is the next highest priority action to move you closer to what you want. You should write that down. What is the next highest priority action to move you forward to where you want to go? That's it. He says, if you don't know that, you're wasting time. If you don't know that, you're wasting time. And I watch a lot of people waste a lot of time not looking for the highest priority action. I think what a lot of people have is the highest priority complaint. I did not a business talk. I talked to business people because in the last 4 or 5 months, and if any of you know of any cool podcast or groups of people you want me to talk to, let me know. I've spoken to doctors, a group of nurses, a group of hair salon. I talked to 4,000 youth that are going to become medical doctors. And what I find out in these different groups, especially the business groups, is the same thing. You can't find people. Have any of you heard this stuff? Like billions? Aaron, can you Google how many billions of people are on Earth? Like how many people on Earth? So I know. He'll put it in the chat bar. And they tell me they can't find people and there's no good people and no one wants to work. And no, you just suck. You're just no good at it. You're horrible at it. That's the reality of it, right? Catherine beat you, Aaron. Okay, you must bow down now, just so you know, she was on it. 7 billion people on Earth. Is it a possibility you just don't know the highest priority to do? Type in possibility in the chat bar. Is that a possibility? You just don't know the highest priority to do. That's the fact about it. Does this help you put it into a structure that we're going through to get the job done? Can you say get the job done? Does this help you critically think through things? Because if you don't have a process, you normally have a problem. Or the process in your mind just has never been strategically built. I'm going to want you to just take this information and build a simple process on paper to go through with everything you're dealing with, starting tonight. Brain dump tonight, so you can send me a message, private message tomorrow or something. Tell me how you slept. Now I nailed down. Now I'm going to give you some bonus here. Strategy number 9. I'm going to give you a little bonus. And these are questions to ask about every thought. And you'll tell me at the end of these, and you can take a picture with this if you want. You'll tell me at the end of this, are these questions really, really helpful? 1, with clarity. What is happening? What is happening? And most people don't get clarity around what is happening. And then you got to ask yourself again, like, wait a second, no. What is really happening? Because sometimes I say, oh, I'm being fired. Wait a second. What's really happening? I'm being opened up to a greater opportunity. What's really happening? I'm learning a lot of things I shouldn't do. What's really happening? I'm learning that I'm not a fit for this environment. If you just stop at what is happening, you normally have a very jaded view. I'm being released into the wild, right? Yeah. And it sounds so aggressive, the wild, right? Like so scary, the wild, right? Instead, I'm being released into a world of opportunity, of endless opportunity. It's like, oh, well, that's exciting versus scary. It's amazing how our words can frame fear or pleasure, right? Number 3, where are my blind spots on this issue? How many of you tell me this would be really helpful? Just this one question. Where are my blind spots? What don't I see? What don't I see? Look, when you start building big company or big wealth, and all of you will someday, I know you will, because now you have critical thinking. When you start building this stuff and you start asking yourself, hang on a second, where are my blind spots on this issue? What don't I see? What am I avoiding? You start to open a land in your brain that starts to think completely different. And then you just say, who can help me learn more? I watch a lot of people learn things that don't make any sense at all. especially in Facebook. You see it all the time. People, what book are you reading now? Oh, I'm reading Think and Grow Rich. I'm reading 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. I'm reading it. And everybody goes, oh, I'm buying that one. I go, why are you buying that one? Oh, so-and-so recommended it and he's wealthy. I said, oh, do you have a problem with that now? No. Well, why the hell would you read that? Why would you read something that does not solve your highest priority situation? Is that reasonable? Can you type in reasonable in the chat bar? Like, people are reading all kinds of shit that makes no sense to me. Now, if you're pleasure reading, you're reading for pleasure. That's good. It's relaxation. It's bringing your mind down. Only read or do what solves the next problem. Most people do not focus on the number one biggest problem of all. They invest, they put time, they go to training on everything else except the one, what we would probably call like the kingpin. What is it? Tell me in the chat bar. What's the one thing? Let's see if anybody gets it. What's the one thing? Come on, give it a shot. Yourself, right? Corey, right? People don't focus on their self enough. They don't train themselves. How many of you are really good at loving other people, but not great at loving yourself? Type in me in the chat bar. You're really great at loving other people, but not self-love. Yeah, most people. Can you really love another human without really loving yourself? No. The answer is no, because you cannot embrace them fully if you cannot embrace yourself. Next time you go to hug somebody and love somebody, I want you to ask yourself, am I showing self-love first? Or am I hugging somebody with shit all over me? Because that's what it's like. When you love someone and don't love yourself, it's like you're covered in shit and you're like, come here, let me love you. And the only thing that's rubbing off you on them is energy shit. I just made that one up. I never said energy shit before. That's what it is. Right? So you have to go into you. You have to focus on expanding you. That's why I said in the beginning, if you want to 10x anything, you got to 20x yourself. Okay, let's go for number 4. Which of my values are being challenged right now? I have three values. They're my top 3 values that I live within and live with. If you want to know what it is, type in 3 in the chat bar. I'll share my top 3. May not be your 3. Your 3 are probably different. There's a whole process to define your values. When you know your highest values, you will live with a sense of freedom with yourself like you've never imagined. Okay, my number 1 highest value is learning. Learning is my favorite thing to do. Like learning right now. Well, this actually serves 3 of my values and you'll see it. Because right now I'm learning by you. Because as I'm asking you things, you're giving me responses and I'm learning from the interaction. Learning's my top 1. Number 2 is creating, building, solving things and bringing it a new formula, a new way of thinking, creating a new way of thinking for people. That's my number 2 highest value. And my number 3 is teaching. Why do you think I'm on here at 8 o'clock at night? Not because I had to. I sold 2 companies in the last 5 years, right? I don't have to be here. I'm here because it's my highest. It's one of my highest values. But what that means, if somebody's challenging one of those values, I'm gonna move away from it. I'm gonna pull back from it. If you don't know your highest values, I would just write values down because we want to get that defined. Because if I'm living within those 3, I have unlimited freedom inside. Unlimited freedom. Number 5, are these really good? Can you type in like really good in the chat bar? If this just, I mean, we could have just spent the whole time on strategy number 9 here, right? Number 5, whose story is it? Whose story? Now, is it your story? Is it your mom's story? Is it your wife's story? Is it your childhood story? Right? Like, whose story is this? Susie, maybe we should do something with values in the future. Aaron will put a note. Maybe we'll do a special training for you guys on that. So whose story is this? Did you ever notice that you might be living someone else's story? Type in story if that happened. Like you're living a life, but then you look and you're like, wait a minute. Is this really what I want to do? Is this what my wife wants me to live? Is this what my kids want me to live? Is this what my community wants me to live? And before you know it, yeah, Susie says my mom's story. All of a sudden, you're like, holy shit. I'm not even living my life. I'm living everyone else's life. If you ever get the chance, you don't have it right now. Next week, we finish a training called Change the Channel. It's about identity. And it's a training every single human on earth should take. I am a firm believer in it. Because if you are not creating your own identity, you're living within someone else's identity. Let me just say that again. If you're not creating your own identity, you're living within someone else's identity because you modeled someone else's behaviors and habits and patterns. How do I know? Because I've been watching and studying some form of human behavior for over 3 decades. And I watched at different parties and things, grown-ups, 30, 40 years old, be around their parents that are maybe 60 or 70, and they turn back into a 10-year-old kid. And I sit there and go, holy shit, whose story is that? They just merged, just like they're little kids again. And what happens is when you live that result. You get how this is this, Susie, Aaron, we'll reach out to you and talk to you about it. Okay, there might be an opportunity, but we'd have to get you caught up and it'd be work and you have to want to do the work and shit. So if you really want it, we'll talk about it. Catherine will pick that up. Make sure we know how to get in touch with you. So here's the thing. You want to start to look, what is my story? Watch your story today. Okay, your story today. People reinforce it. I'm broke. I'm not worthy. I can't run a business. I went out of business, my career, the story of there's not enough employees and the story, man, the gas. Oh my God, the gas. I don't even understand it. I don't even get it. First off, the cost of gas is a problem when you don't know how to create more money for yourself. Just be transparent with me. If you don't have a money problem, you don't complain about gas. And when I look at people, and maybe if it's you, sorry if I offend you at all, I don't mean to. I'd rather give you a hurtful truth than a comforting lie. My wife and I drive by Costco, and we see the line to save $5. And I say to myself, I want to go out there with a sign, I should just do it and have my wife film me, a big sign that says, value your effing time. Value your effing time. What is the world teaching you that you think your time is, your 30 minutes there is worth $5? I want to start knocking on the window and fucking coaching people, get out of this line. Follow me to the parking lot and I'll teach you how to fucking make more money or something. This can't be what you should be doing. Sitting in line for $5 while you're missing out on time with your family or focusing on your health. Highest priority action. You guys, can you type in cranked up? You got me all cranked up tonight, everybody. You got me all cranked up. Okay. All right. Number 6, we talked about this. Where's the leverage? Where's the leverage? You put leverage on yourself. And then all of a sudden you'll start to move faster. Number 7, what is the ideal outcome? I'll use an example I use all the time. I use this example all the time. People say, now I speak to a lot of people. I've been speaking for a long time, a lot of people. I'll be speaking to 1,000 people in Tennessee in August and all kinds of speaking things. And I always ask people, I always bring some cash and I go, okay, who wants to make more money? And they all say, me, right? And I give them $1, Rick. I'm like, here's $1. And they look at me like, it's $1. I'm like, you said you wanted to make more money. Well, I wanted to make more than $1. So I pull out a 20 and I'm like, here's the 20. Go, you can leave now. They go, no, I want to make a lot more money than $21. I said, well, I don't even know what your ideal outcome is. What is it? You're not being clear. You're not being specific. Why are people not specific? Because they think they're going to fail, so they'd rather not do it than accept that they didn't get there, right? So I said, well, tell me what you want. Oh, it's like, oh, I wish I had someone on here, Aaron, like we could, Catherine, we have, like, tell me what you want, what you really, really want, right? Remember that song? Or am I dating the shit out of myself? Just say you're dating yourself, Mike, right? Like, you have to be really clear. I want my bills to disappear, and I want 100,000 in my bank. See, me, I don't care what you want in your bank. I'm not one of these guru people like, you got to have $500 billion and blah, 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 blah. You know, look at me in my fancy car. I hope you think I'm cool now, right? No, I still don't think you're really fucking cool. I just think you have a car that you probably pay a lot for. You're not cool. You're only cool to all the people that are so good at putting you on a pedestal. Write this down, everybody. When you put the world on a pedestal, you put yourself on the floor. I hope that impacts you. It should. When you put the world on a pedestal, you put yourself on the ground. And you're just sitting there like trying to lick the toes of something that you think you can't achieve. Be specific. Okay, can I get a boom in the chat bar? Are we doing good here? You guys are doing me a favor because this is a great warm up for me, Nathaniel, because at 9, I'm going to be talking from like 9:30 to 11 too. I don't even know who I'm talking to. I forgot who I'm talking to, but I'm sure it's going to be cool people. Okay, number 8. How can I turn this into a greater opportunity for myself, my family, and others? How can I turn this situation into a greater opportunity? That one thing here, greater opportunity. That one question could change everything. Because the brain starts going, I don't know. Let's think about it. Let's ponder. Let's write it down. Let's put it through the critical thinking system. How can I make it a greater opportunity? And then you start to have expansion. Okay, now, this here, feel free to take a picture if you want, okay? The mind controls all outcomes. We know that. And what do you want? What do you want, and how much faster could you have it if your mind was working exactly the way you want it? Unfortunately, a lot of you might have your mom's mind or your dad's mind. How many of you have kids? Type in kids. Type in kids. And if you have kids, okay, so how many of you have said something to your kids and you sound just like your mom and dad? Type in truth if that's ever happened. Did that ever happen? You're like, and you catch yourself, you're like, oh my God, I've turned into my mom. I've turned into my dad, right? So you don't really have your own mind. You have your mom's mind, your dad's mind. You have the teachers you went to school's mind. You have the bullies' mind. You have everybody's in life's model mind. The only way you could have a different mind is by a choice, because you work to develop on building your mind. I'm only telling you guys what I learned after all these days. Look, I didn't wake up one day. I'd love to tell you, like, oh, I decided to start a business and I created the most successful business out of the gate. And you should all like pat me on the back and put me on a pedestal. No, hell no. I struggled for 12 years. And I'm an electrician by trade, for those of you new, which means I crawled in a lot of attics. I felt a lot of insulation. I crawled in a lot of crawl spaces. I know what a lot of cat shit smells like. Like, I know what it's like to dig ditches. And this is not one of those stories your parents told you, like they walked 500 miles barefoot. No. Like, I know what it's like to bleed out your hands with blisters from pickaxing, like I'm sure some of you on here. So how do you go from where you're at to the next level of evolution? It's always the mind. And if it was as easy as reading a book, like Think and Grow Rich, everybody would be rich. If it was as easy as the book of 5 love languages, which I think all these books have value. If 5 love languages was perfect, well, then everybody would be married forever and never get divorced. And all they would be doing is year 1 of marriage to year 80 of marriage, running around slapping ass and stuff, right? But it's not, because you have to develop yourself. Write that down. I must develop myself, and it's never too late. I was sharing with someone I don't know, where was I? Oh, I was in San Diego. With my daughter. We were at a training out there, and it was so good when you hang around really cool people that are driven for success. He said, "Oh, how I shared my success," and he's like, "Wow, that's great." And he said, "How old are you?" I said, "Well, I'm level 51 right now." He's like, "Oh man, you got like a good another 50 years to do this stuff." I said, 50? I got like 90 more years to do stuff. What do you like? Don't shortchange me. I told him, don't kill me too early. I'm pretty sure I'm like shooting for 140. I don't know what I'm gonna look like. I might be shriveled up some. I might be talking. I might be curled up talking to you. I'm still gonna be talking. If a voice can't come out my mouth, it's gonna come out my mind through a computer or something, right? But just the fact of being around that person, his thinking was, oh man, you just got started. Other environments you're in, they're like, oh, are you ever going to retire? Do you know who wants to retire, everybody? Say who. Say who in the chat bar. You know who wants to retire? I'll tell you exactly who wants to retire. Okay, people that hate what they do. That's the only people that want to retire. People that hate what they do. If you love what you're doing and you're living within your 3 high values, you'll never retire. You'll never retire. Okay. We're almost finished up. I got one last page after this, and then I want to get highlights from you. If any of you are interested in hearing about the Mind Power and Unlimited Potential training, it is by application only because it's an extremely intense training. It just happens where that's the level that I want to deliver on this training. It's 2 nights a week for 3 weeks, which means we're reprogramming, repositioning, and creating. I have this theory, like to supersize anything, you have to superhuman yourself. This is about superhuman in ourselves. So the link's in the chat bar. You can do the QR code real quick. And here's what I want to end with all of you before I get final feedback. So every idea, every situation, every relationship is your opportunity to serve, be served, and change the world. Serve, be served, and change the world. And so let me unshare this so I can see all of you now. All right. Now I can see all of you. Hey, Jack, what's happening? Nice to see you. Okay, so here's what I want to know in the chat bar. Matt, what's happening, brother? I want to know in the chat bar right now, what is your biggest takeaway that you're going to take action on? What's your biggest critical thinking? I know it's a lot of information. One time somebody a decade ago said, well, you think you could slow down a little bit? And I said, no. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you to speed the hell up, okay? Because if I slow down, I might die. If you speed up, you'll just get more shit done. So we'll speed up, right? Okay, let's see this. Brain dump. All right, awesome. My dreams are only a choice away. 100%. Yes. Mike, you struck that chord with me. I attended Road Warrior a couple of years ago, and the next Monday sold 45K in home services. Left that industry and work in a leadership career and lost track my path. Okay, my fire is alive again. Boom. There we go. Love it. Review my own day's action. Sit on my shoulder. Yes. Okay. Dump before sleep tonight and build tomorrow's plan. I want you to private message me how that works out tonight. Okay. Have a systematic brain dump and plan solution. Oh, you guys are so good. You're making me, I am so impressed with all of you. Okay. Plan the highest priority action right now. Clarity, sort issue by urgency, control, and impact. Yes, Matt, so good. Yeah. Sorting my issues. Love it. Problems are from a lack of processes. Yes, Rick. Okay, brain dump. Plan the day. Figure out my values. Okay, tell me in the chat bar. Not put myself down all the time. Yes, don't do that no more. You're too special to do that. You're creating greatness. Don't ever anybody try to blow out your flame, right? Today, the world's like, and I get this. Sangita, I hope I'm saying that right. Like you're around and you're like, oh, I love life. I'm doing good. They're like, why are you so happy? I'm like blowing back and I'm like, you are not going to blow out my flame. Like, no, we're not going to live that way. You take your little fan trying to blow out people's happiness and you go bring that shit somewhere else in the world because bam, not around in this environment, right? Okay, change your thinking, change your life. Yes. Now, question for all of you. Who should have been on this training? Be transparent. You don't need to make me feel good. Like, who should know critical thinking? We'll do a replay. I'll do a post tonight for you guys. It'll be on my Facebook. I'm so honored all of you are here with me, my beautiful wife, Aaron on the team, Kathy. We're so honored you guys are here. I'll post on my Facebook the replay. Please share that with the world. I hope you'll join us in the movement to, and if you will, just say you will. I want you to help us impact 1 million people or more in a decade or less in 100 countries or more, because I believe hands down, we will change the world this way. And we're not waiting for anybody else to give us an invitation to change the world. So love you guys. Have an amazing night. You did an incredible job. Boom. We will see you on the next training. Yes, we will. We'll miss you till then. Bye.